शुभं करोति कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदा शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योति नमोऽस्तु ते।
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to 35th series of Tuesday webinar series. Center of Resource Development for Educators, CRDE, is trying to collect the resources and in turn give it to the principals and in turn to the teachers and students. As a part of this, twice in a month, Tuesdays, we do this Tuesday webinars. So today's Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava will be having the session. So I welcome each one of you and I welcome Sangeeta ma'am also to today's event. Today's master of ceremony is Mrs. Uma Mahesh. Uma ma'am, please continue with the program.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to one and all. On behalf of CRDE, Center of Resource Development for Educators, I, Mrs. Uma Mahesh, welcome you all to our 35th session of Tuesday webinars. Before we begin with our session, a brief about CRDE. Center of Resource Development for Educators is the initiative of educators, Dr. Suresh Nair and Mrs. Deepa Desai. Dr. Suresh Nair, President of CRDE, is a state teacher awardee, joined Vivek Vidyalaya and Junior College in the year 2006 after serving for KC College for about 18 years as a professor of physics. His visionary endeavor in the field of education paved the way to fetch him an array of accolades. He is a co-author in physics textbooks for junior colleges and MHT-CET for engineering entrance examinations. Secretary of CRDE, Mrs. Deepa Desai. Mrs. Deepa Desai has been in the field of education for the past 37 years and more, and is the recipient of many awards for her work. Former principal of Arya Vidya Mandir, Juhu, an ICSE board, the founder principal of Mahapragya Public School, Kalba Devi, a CBSE school in South Mumbai, and former head of IES Manik Vidya Mandir. She is a woman of many talents. Her rich experience as an educationist also made her an innovative and knowledgeable trainer for the CBSE and Sri Kelvani Mandal's group of schools in Shirpur, Dhule. Center of Resource Development for Educators is a platform where teachers and educators are maneuvered to excel and mentor the student community through local and international mentorship. CRDE offers opportunity to experiment and implement ideas, innovations, and collaboration to achieve performance and continuous professional excellence. CRDE is where confident, like-minded individuals share and imbibe knowledge, experience through interaction, deliberation, and international exposure. Today's session, we have Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava. Let me introduce her. She is the principal advisor of Kandivali Education Society's Schools and Science College, Mumbai. She is a Maharashtra State Awardee in 2017. Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava is associated with Initiatives of Change, which is IOFC, and Education Today, Society Tomorrow, ETST, for the past 8 years. She is an author and poet of children's books and activity books. She has published several educational books. Dr. Sangeeta has been conducting value education courses based on Indian scriptures for children, youth, and professionals. It is a proud privilege to have Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava this evening as a speaker on the topic Educating the Heart, which is of prime importance today. We welcome you, ma'am, this evening. Over to you.
Namaste everyone, and thank you Umaji for giving such a nice introduction. CRDE is not new to me. I am associated with Dr. Suresh Nair since for last 24 years. We have worked together as colleagues in Mumbai West Zone of Education Department. And Deepa ma'am has been with us for, I think I know her for more than 5-6 years now, and it's a pleasure to be talking to all of you on this platform of educators. Education or teaching is my passion, and as it is yours, and I keep on trying to find ways and means to infuse some new energy by thinking about new things. And education, educating the heart came to my mind when we have been listening to so many things nowadays, of always, but of late it has been little too much, and have been noticing that you may become a first class engineer or doctor or statesman or a politician or anyone, but you could be a third class father or mother or a husband or wife. And so with this notion in my mind, I thought, has the role of teacher does the role of a teacher needs some change? Do we need to look into ourselves as teachers or educators? Can we do something with whatever is happening, where the society is leaving? And but then looking at that, I found there were so many challenges, and so looking at that, thinking about those things, I just thought of this topic, and here we are, educating the heart. Okay. So now, with this in my mind, I'll just take you through this presentation, which talks about, let's see how I have tried to see things from that perspective. I came across this saying, in today's world, it is not enough to simply educate the mind. We must also educate the heart, fostering empathy, compassion, and self-awareness in our students. And why we need to do that? We all have heard about Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. What did he say? He has said these lines: educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And this is not being said today, it has been said decades ago. So educating the heart is nothing new, but we have to look at it with a new perspective. And there's a very beautiful book by 𝐒𝐚𝐭𝐢𝐧𝐠, Teacher and Child. And since we are all educators, I always expect that we do a lot of reading. And if you haven't read this book, please go ahead and read this book, and Teacher and Child, in which he says that this is a classic which shows parents and teachers how to communicate with children by unlearning the language of rejection and learning the new language of acceptance. And in this book, he has mentioned, there's one beautiful paragraph which says, I have come to a frightening conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom. Now, who is saying this? You can very well guess. ये कौन कह रहा है? ये टीचर कह रही है या कह रहा है? I have come to a frightening conclusion. Frightening. When a teacher has realized that this is what I conclude, it frightens her. I am the decisive element in the classroom, the teacher is saying. It is my personal approach that creates the climate of the classroom. It is my daily mood that makes the weather of the classroom. The teacher enters the classroom with what mood? As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life either miserable or joyous. And then he says, I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. And I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de escalated and a child humanized or dehumanized. I would love to take a little pause here. I want you all to read it again quietly and then we can move ahead. Okay. Now, after this reflection, I want you to go back in your memory. I think this exercise many of you must have done many times, but we want to still do it today again. Think of a school teacher whom you still remember. And I'm sure this we are talking about more than 40-50 decades. Just think. And then you think why you remember that teacher. Can we have some sharing here? Please, I would like to have some sharing here with all of you. Yes.
Okay, I think I'll start.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember a couple of teachers. I remember my science teacher, my mathematics teacher, and I remember the vice principal of the school. At the same time, I also remember one of the teachers who taught social sciences. Now, some of them I remember for the good they did to us, and some of them I remember for other reasons. Now, our science teacher was one who really inspired us. She and those days she never taught looking in the textbook. She never taught anything. She would just come, throw open questions to us, and then just interact with us and ask children to interact. And then she would come, and something on the board she would draw, and then so we learned a lot. We learned how we need to be when we are playing. We learned not only love for science, we developed, and so many things, life lessons we learned from her in addition to this science. Similarly, with my mathematics teacher, she was the one who, would ask us to come and solve the sum on the board. And even if we went wrong, she would say, "Don't worry, everybody makes mistakes. Even I could have made that mistake. And children, don't laugh. You will also make the mistake." This manner, and a vice principal, she was a nun, and she would speak about so many other things. So I really remember these vividly, these teachers. Yeah. At the same time, the social studies teacher, she would have a scale in her hand, and if anybody talked amongst themselves, she would say, "Come on, show your hands," and she would on the knuckles give us, and we hated. Though we knew we were going to get beatings on the knuckle, we never did our homework.
So you can easily relate your feelings associated with each of them. One you remember fondly and one you remember with some feelings, negative feelings.
Right? Yes. But I do remember her as well as them.
Anyone else would like to share? I think most of us will resonate with what Deepa ma'am just now said. Yes, Lata ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Lucky to have my mummy as my first teacher.
Wow.
Junior KG, senior KG and first standard. And to be very frank, that's where I learned discipline. The whole class was punished for making too much noise. And she did not at all discriminate between the other children and myself. The same punishment continued. And every time, like, no going to the staff room, she tried to maintain that distance and prove that I am not anything special, or I'm one amongst the others. So that, that sort of training right from childhood, which came into me, was imbibed in me so well that even at the later stage, when I was a teacher for my daughter, there was no partiality, no favoritism, nothing. You're a child as other students. The same has been following throughout. Never has have been, partial or shown favoritism for any child. Some discipline, this where you have to, have control over yourself, not show off that you're a teacher's son or daughter, and so you can do anything that you like. Which is very strict throughout. And I'm lucky to be an alumni of Suresh Nair's school. So Vivek Vidyalaya has been running in my blood, KG to 12th standard. Even signing in the report card, she was the class teacher, so my grandpa had to sign. It was a very privileged-like situation, but never did she have that this to discriminate me or show favoritism. The same happened with my teachers in the higher classes. I was a bit weak in maths, an average in maths, and very good in other subjects. But it was my economics teacher who judged me in standard 11. She said, never mind, even if you scored 40 in 10th standard in maths, you got a 70% result, that's important. So economics, you try. And she gave me only one this. See, I learned with great difficulty, Lata. If you try, you can do. And believe me, ma'am, that one line was, what do you say, a mantra for me.
Life changing.
It was just imbibed in my mind that if I do anything, I will do like my economics teacher. And I just followed her footsteps. And this was when I was in 12th. I did my BA, I did my MA, I did my BEd, I did my MPhil, I did my all with that. I will get a degree what she has got. When I did my MA BEd, I was the first to go and show her the result. Ma'am, I did what you wanted me to do. And touchwood till today, she's in touch with me. She has been coming to my school for all the invites that I sent her. And even day before yesterday for my birthday, she was the first one at 5:30 to wish me. So having such teachers to, throughout your life, who remember you, who have been your guidance and, torchlight throughout, a pleasure indeed.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Anybody else would like to? Maybe one more sharing we can have. Yes, Seema ji, please. Seema, are you going to speak? Because I saw you unmuting.
Talking will be difficult for me.
Okay, that's okay.
Lata ma'am, belated birthday wishes to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Senior citizen category, big thank you.
Oh, congratulations. That's a privilege, Lata ji.
Thank you.
So, Mayuri, do you want to share something? I feel that you want to say something. Can't hear? We can't hear.
Are you able to hear me?
No. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I do remember my science teacher too. The reason behind is the way she used to teach my primary section teachers, because they used to conduct a lot of games for us, storytelling method. So that's the reason today also when we start the class, I was doing my DEd, immediately when we used to learn a new concept, we used to just relate that. I used to relate it. Yeah, my teacher, when we used to introduce the lesson, she never immediately never used to tell us the name of the lesson, either through the story or through the poem. Some more different methods she used to use so that she can introduce the name of the lesson. So that way it connects me. I still remember all my teachers.
Yes. So, in all these sharings, we found one common thread, and that was the love and care, or maybe some out of the box methods that the teacher used so that to ensure that you learned. And I had read this somewhere. No one cares how much you know your knowledge about your knowledge. Nobody cares this from a child's perspective. No one cares how much you know, only how much you care. And the teachers who care, and with whatever you have shared, we can see that is what stays in our mind and hearts. And I think that is one big reason why you became this kind of person that you are. So that's what we are going towards, that the teachers that we remember, we know why we remember them. And today, if I want to become a teacher like her, what is my challenge? See, look at this picture. This picture shows, if you can see, the human hand is the teacher and the other hand is of a student. Today's children are from the digital age, and that too from artificial intelligence age children. I'm sure you agree that these are new challenges that today's teachers are facing. Our teachers, maybe they did not face this kind of challenges, their challenges would have been different. But the challenges today we as teachers are facing, educators are facing, it is something different. So, how do we meet them? By changing ourselves. And how do we change ourselves? So, if we see, whatever I could research and find, after talking to so many teachers in my school or wherever I go, if I talk to them and if I ask them, what are the things that you find very difficult today, then these are some of them which came, and whatever is missed, I would like you all to add. You can even put in the chat box. Increasing class sizes for many of us. Then the learning needs are different today. Earlier there were no, in the classroom we had not heard about special needs children or different learning styles. There was only one style to teach. There was only one type of examination for everyone. So that was different. But today it is different. Then there is a lot of technology which needs to be integrated in the classroom, and that also to be integrated effectively. Then students have a lot of behavioral issues which might have not been there earlier, I feel. But today it's much more, because children are very hyperactive because of the new kind of atmosphere, environment, the digital world, the mobile phones, the social media, the TV, the internet, which was not there earlier. And then teachers have a lot of administrative duties to be done. So there is a balancing thing between teaching and administrative duties. Then there is a need to give individual attention to each and every child and to your administrative work also. Lot of cultural diversity in the classroom, because now it's no more only the local children studying in the class, but people travel all the time, and in a classroom, especially in a city like Mumbai, it's like a hotspot. So there is a teacher burnout, and there are so many other challenges that teachers have been facing. So these were some of them. Now there are so many others, like students are more, time is less for them in the school. So there is a lot of demand on time, and then technology has to be integrated effectively. They don't get more time to plan their lessons. Then because of this, there's a lot of stress among the teachers. Then we already spoke. Then there are gifted students in the classroom, plus there are special students in the classroom because of that inclusive policy of government after the right to education. There's a lot of distraction. There's lack of support, and there are mental health issues in the classroom, even for students as well as teachers, which is not being addressed. So these are some of the problems. Parent communication is another challenge for them. They have to continuously do the professional development, curriculum development. They have to meet students, teachers, and today there is another challenge of teachers. Need for a lot of upgradation by the teacher, because if you continue with what you have been doing 10 years back, you are not, the schools want it. It's a demand of the times. So let us see what is the importance of educating the heart. Amongst all these things, we also have a responsibility of moral education, value education, and also these are the other things. And it is not just that we have thought that these are the things. These have always been there, a part of teaching, learning. Like we have to look after the emotional well-being of the students. We have to help them for building healthy relationships. We have to teach them social responsibility, empathy, and compassion, and they should be able to contribute positively to the communities and to the world. We have to teach them resilience and success. They should be able to meet their challenges and achieve their goals. And also we have to make them ethical decision makers. how to teach them all these things. These things are also very important and a part and parcel of a teacher's job. And what does NEP say today? So this has been there, and today NEP also has mentioned this. I have just taken a paragraph from the 4th chapter of NEP 2020, where they have written so many things, and it is not only in the 4th chapter. It appears, this is for the secondary education, it appears in higher education, technical education, teacher education, the same things that a teacher today has to teach them about the themes of cheating, violence, plagiarism, littering, tolerance, equality, empathy. Then they have to teach them about moral, ethical values, traditional Indian values, all basic human and constitutional values such as seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, nishkam, karma, shanti, sacrifice, tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous conduct, gender sensitivity, respect for elders, respect for all people, and there is lot all. And they have also mentioned that through the storytelling, like from the our own literature like Panchatantra, Jatak, tales, Hitopadesh, and such fun fables, we have to include this in our teacher has to include in the curriculum. 4.29 talks about Indian and local context and ethos in terms of cultural traditions, heritages, customs, languages, and 22.15 talks about teaching them Sanskrit. Yeah, including it as one of the language options in the 3-language formula. Not only in school but also in the higher education, and it should not be taught in isolation, but it has to be included in a fun way so that it is there in all the subjects like mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, linguistics, dramatics, yoga, etc. This is what NEP 2020 says. But if you look at the Constitution of India, the principles of NEP 2020 are already there in the Constitution of India, where they're talking about if you look at the We the People, the first page of the Constitution, it talks about we the people of India have resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular. Next sentence you say justice, liberty of thought, expression, belief, equality, and all these things are coming in this. And then they're talking about all the things which is again appeared in NEP 2020 in a different way. And NEP says content has to be reduced, and in place of content teaching we have to teach them thinking skills, character traits like care, compassion, ethics, reasoning, and emphasis on multilingualism. Means in a classroom we have to build cultural integration, not only our Indian languages but include foreign language at secondary level, Indian classical languages plus Sanskrit. And then vocational education has to be given importance. High order thinking skills have to be taught. Now, what is high order thinking skills? We already had it in our teaching methods in our school. I'll take an example. I was just going through some NEP content and I found this. Like for example, this speech, we have all heard it. And I think in our speeches, it was there in the lesson in one of the curriculums where on the midnight of 14th August, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru has delivered this speech. Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes. We all know it by heart. Now, for high order thinking or with a new view, how we have to teach it, it's like this. We have to make a sentiment analysis of Pandit Nehru's speech, not to learn it by heart, but now pick up the nouns which are given in that speech. So India is a noun. Then, because here it is about freedom of India, then adjectives, then adverbs, personal pronouns, modal verbs. From that speech, first you take it out, then analyze it, how Pandit Nehru gave his speech. So this is what NEP is expecting, that we have to teach children to think, not just give them content, but use the current content to make them a thinking individual. There are many examples. I can give you more examples of, for example, in primary class and in higher classes. In primary class, if we talk about, say, story Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. So in earlier, it is like recalling and remembering. You have to learn it by your rote. and remember it. And then the questions are asked, easy questions are asked, like who is the main character in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? This is an easy question. But if the same question has to be made in high order thinking skill, then the question should come like this. Snow White's mother wanted to be the most beautiful person in the world. Do people like you? People like you only if you are pretty looking. Why did she want to be the most good looking girl in the world? So this is a high order thinking skill, rather than asking who is the main character, how many characters, how many doors were there. Similarly, in the higher education, if you come to higher classes, where in ICSE schools Shakespeare is taught, so difficult question. It was already difficult question, which is you can only answer by rote learning. Is name all the characters in Shakespeare's Hamlet. Whereas a high ordered thinking, analyzing, and evaluating question would be there is a dialogue, soliloquy, where Hamlet talks in Act 1, Scene 2. Then after that dialogue, the question is, what is the question in his mind and how do you think he resolves it by end of his soliloquy? Use evidence from his speech and evaluate. This is the difference that NEP wants us to do. Now, you must have realized that we have to do the same things but with a tweak or with a twist, and why it is not necessary and how we can educate the heart. Means we not just teach but educate them, and it's not a new thing. It was there, but we have to pause and think and find some ways out. And in a short session of 1 hour, it's very difficult to elaborate on so many things, but we can definitely discuss on certain things. I want you to reflect, and I want you also to note down, if you have a paper pen with you, on these two things, what I like most about my role as a teacher or a principal or a educator, and one thing, what I like the least about my role as a teacher, principal, or an educator. Just reflect on these two things. What is the most I like about my profession, and one thing which I like the least about my profession. By thinking on this, you will be able to make the things that you like most better, and you can improve upon it, make it better and better easily. And the things you don't like, you can work upon it to make it such that you start liking it. Because if you work without liking something, the results are obvious. Anybody wants to share anything here? You can just unmute yourself and share. We can have a couple of minutes for sharing.
What I want to say is about the first question.
Yes, sir.
See, a teacher or a principal has to be a facilitator more than a teacher. I mean, more than teaching, because it depends upon the requirements of the students. It may be anything. Maybe a little part may be teaching, because nowadays the students know each and everything before the teacher knows. I mean, before the teacher teaches.
Teachers, yeah. Correct.
So, except teaching or very little teaching, rest everything, because there are many other things the students require. So that we have to, satisfy them just to make the facilitation. Second part will be again just to, the same thing as it is, like least part will be teaching.
Yes, sir. You are very right, sir. 100%.
That is what I want to say.
Yes, sir. आपने पूरा आपने summary कर दिया, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to say, first and foremost, what I like best about teaching is, one thing is that you are always with children, and being with them, really challenges your creativity. It's like an outlet for your own creativity. You can think of ways and means of writing the plan so that, because every child is not the same. So you try to write it in a manner that more or less everybody understands. So though it is challenging, yet you are giving vent to your creativity. You're thinking of various aspects, how you will make learning more enjoyable for the children, and how you will see to it that children love the subject. You create an interest in them. So that is what I love the best about being a teacher as well as a principal, because as a principal also you're teaching, and as a principal you're observing, and then you are giving suggestions and all that. I'm sure many of the teachers will agree with me. The worst part of being a teacher is correcting papers.
Yes.
It is, you are keeping awake the whole night, finishing everything and then sitting and correcting papers. Otherwise, it is, I don't know. It is the best thing that can happen
Yes.
to a person, to be in the teaching profession.
I'm sure everybody resonates with whatever you said, and correcting papers, of course, it's very torturous. But unless we correct the papers, we don't even know about the children.
Exactly.
That is one
Exactly.
thing.
That's it. It's a
And
necessary
NEP,
evil.
yeah, in
It's a
NEP
necessary
now,
evil.
yeah, in NEP they are insisting on self-assessment a lot. So I hope that comes. It will take time, but yes, self-assessment will come in place very soon. And automatic correction machines are already available. At the moment, they are very expensive. Very soon, it will come. Okay. So,
Sangeeta, can I add something?
are definitely, Seema.
Yeah, what I feel is it's very essential. I feel that, yeah, assessment is definitely one part, but I also feel that one worrisome thing as a teacher always is to refrain ourselves from having any kind of prejudice about any child and entering into the classroom with a blank slate.
Yeah.
As humans, it many times gets difficult, but that is one thing which I always feel that as a teacher, it is a challenge for us, because not as a teacher, but as humans, we always hold back some kind of prejudice, and we many a time, in spite of not wanting to fall into that trap of labeling, the kids. So that is one always my concern, that how to keep our slate clean and enter the class. That is one thing. And what I love about teaching is that as you grow older with experience of teaching, it gives us an opportunity to be coaches for our colleagues and even for our children. So coaching is something which allows our colleagues, our teachers, to grow on their own and have a much more growth mindset. So this is something which I love about it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Very true, because that the first that prayer which this teacher and child, where he says no that I discovered that I have so much of power to humanize or dehumanize a child, like you said. No, I'm worried
Yes.
about it. You know, very true. So yes, so let's go ahead with this now, and let's see. So now, like Nair sir, you rightly said that we have to do something more than teaching. Teaching can, children, they know so many things. They don't need to be taught, but they need to be taught so many other things. And what are those things? So I have, see, with all the experiences and with all the things that we have been doing, whether at in our school education, or whether at by reading books, or by listening to people like so many, like you all, and so many others, educators, I have curated a few things what is research saying today. And these are some of the things which you can see in the screen. Mindfulness, we have to teach them. Gratitude to the extent that we have to teach them everyday practice gratitude. Prepare keep a gratitude journal with you. Express your gratitude for the things that you have. If you have nothing to say thanks to, at least you can say thanks to the to nature for giving you free oxygen, water, things like that. So gratitude, value of relationships, most important, compassion about your peers, as well as your people in the house, people outside the house, the place where you live, your building, your neighbors, your people who work for you, road on which you walk, uh, the place you go, whether you go for a work or to study, have compassion with everything and everyone. Respecting diversity. There are so many types of diversity around us. What respect? As teachers, we have to not only ourselves respect the diversity, enjoy the diversity rather than being prejudiced about it or make some. See, what is happening today in media is absolutely nonsense. Indian media, I'm talking about. We have to teach our children how to sustain and how to handle those kind of things which we get to see in the social media or on the TV and in the news today. We have to teach them time management, how to set their goals, why this period of life is so important for them. They don't have to waste it, and how they have to control their anger, manage their, not control I would say, but manage the anger, because anger, right amount of anger at the right point of time is also very much needed. It has to be managed. There's a world's longest running study, research at the Harvard study of adult development, and I love to talk about this study because it talks about about people who have passed. It's a 80 or 90 year old study now, and it has started in 1938 first time. And when this study was started, the initial people who were taken in at that time, who were recruited for this study, at that time they were studying in that Harvard school, which is considered the best school of the world. Those candidates were taking, out of which today only 19 are alive. While I was preparing this PPT, I just checked. Those from 1938, only 19 are alive today. But what they did was follow them after they passed out from the school, Harvard, and they went on to become some, very successful individuals, thousands of them. Some few were studied, and what they found was the people who lived longest, and those people who were taken as initial candidates for research, they are in their 80s and 90s, but their children were also studied. I mean, after their children came, they studied, and some of them even have their grandchildren. And you will find this study is Miss Waldinger's TED Talk, it is called, where you can know about this study. You can note it down. When you get time, you can go and listen to that TED Talk. That people who were most satisfied at their age of 50 around were healthiest at the age of 80. Most satisfied in their relationships. Now, this study has brought so many important issues in front of us. When we talk about what is important for us, success or happiness. So when you ask this question to anybody, they will say there's a lot of confusion. Very few will be very clear about it, that I want happiness. Most of them will say, unless I'm successful, how can I be happy? Many will say that. For me, success is happiness. Some will say, if I get this, I'll be happy. Then I'll feel that I'm successful. Ultimately, everybody, everything, whatever we do, whether it is small or big, we do it for happiness. Happiness is the ultimate goal of human life. Whether it could be you, it could be anybody. So we have to think from that point of view. And what makes you really happy is your relationships. So when these people were studied, they found that the people who could be very successful in their life, they were big businessmen, they had a lot of money, they were very much respected, fame, name, money, whatever you call. But at the end of the day, they were not happy or they were not healthy. Only those people who had their relationships in place were the successful. So here now we have to look at that. We have to see this is a thing we have to teach our children. We have to teach them now, because unless they value the seeds have to be sown when they are with us, before they become adults, while they are in school, and it begins from the age of 3.5 to 4 years, right from the pre-primary, where we have to teach them to be happy. And how can we teach them to be happy if we are not happy? So to be a happy teacher and to create a happy school, first we have to be happy ourselves. So we have to look inside now. पहले अपने को देखना पड़ेगा. am I a person who has who can say that yes, I am happy? And when you are really happy, see the first one, the note that I gave you in the beginning, Teacher and Child by 𝐤𝐻, where he says that I realized, I'm frightened to find out that I'm the one in the classroom who decides the atmosphere, the weather, whether I'm going to make a child's life miserable or whether I'm going to make him joyous. All the power lies with me. I can do that only when I'm truly happy. And if I attach my happiness to anything, if I get this, I'll be happy. Say you got it. But material happiness is infinite, so we cannot attach our happiness to anything we get or not get. So happiness has to be found inside us. Like when we travel in the airplane, the announcements are done for safety security, and they say when there is a lack of oxygen in the air, the mask will come down. Before helping anyone, first you put the oxygen mask on your face. The same thing, being an educator, we have to think whatever is going wrong in the society today is because the seeds were not sown proper, the seeds were not healthy. Take the responsibility and try and look at our own selves, because a happy school will create happy citizens. A happy teacher will create a happy school. A happy school will create happy citizens, because these are the children going back into the society. Our classrooms are the incubators of a just, compassionate, loving and inclusive society. You all agree with that? Because in a classroom, all kinds of students we get, and it's like we are nurturing them, just like in an incubator, an early born child is kept so that he gets strong and healthy to face the world. In the same way, our classroom is an incubator, and teaching is a challenging but rewarding career. We all agree with that. Like just now Deepa ma'am said that this was a challenge, but then I feel very happy when I am with children, and this is the most rewarding career, I guess, in the world. And you can find fulfillment and happiness in this profession by cultivating a positive mindset and mastering effective strategies. And there are many strategies. I request you all to go and read these books, because reading is one thing that's going to make make or break someone. I mean, if you don't read, you are not that kind of, because you can't get all kinds of experience. We say experience is the best teacher, but if you read, you are learning from experience of other people. And teachers are called, like, nation builders. We are the nation builders. Nation's destiny is being shaped in our classrooms, and it is a fact. Good teachers are the single most important factor that contributes to student achievement in the classroom, more important than facilities, school resources, and even school leadership. It's a very strong statement. Think about those our great leaders who might have gone to a very village, a small one-room school, one single teacher, but that single teacher was so powerful that she or he was able to create that great person. It could be like some scientists and leaders and all kinds of people who have come from very small villages. And so it means good teachers are the single most important factor for a successful person. So how do we educate the hearts? We have to be passionate about our students and our subject. First condition, because you're a teacher, first bring that passion for your students and passion for your teaching and your subject. Then you have to know your students and their family background. Very important. We have introduced home visits in our school for this purpose only, because we found that teachers were not very empathic about students, and they would come and complain कि ये बच्चे का ऐसे करना चाहिए, they come from a poor background, their parents don't teach them anything. I realized, let us do something. I know that many schools do it, but we were not doing it. And with great difficulty it has been started, and the results I got day one. When teacher says, ma'am, now I'm not going to talk to that girl like that, because she used to visit the toilet every 20 minutes, and I would complain to the principal. I would complain to the boys would come and say, क्या मैम ये बार बार टॉयलेट जाती लड़की, अब भी तो गई थी, इसको बार बार पॉटी ही जाना रहता है. So when I had told them that first you visit the homes whom you think they are problem children, they have some problem. So this, when they came back, they said, ma'am, I realized that her house was so small, the toilet was outside the house, and this girl never got a chance to go to a clean and nice toilet with running water, and that's the reason she wants to run there. Now I'm not going to shout at her whenever she wants to visit toilet. See, this compassion came in because teacher went there. So know your student and their family background, so important for a teacher. Listen to your stakeholders. Students are stakeholders. They will make you successful, or they will see if after 50 years, if you are able to remember that teacher, why did I make you do that exercise for this? That these are your stakeholders. They will decide whether you are a successful teacher or not your salary, not your performance appraisers, but these students. So we have to be empathic towards them, we have to listen to them, and we have to put ourselves in their shoes. Means we have to be empathic, and when confronted with problems, you have to always think, what if it was my child? So this kind of compassion a teacher has to bring in herself to educate the hearts, not just the minds. I'm sure you all agree with me, and I'm sure you all are this kind of teachers. Another thing that I will recommend is reading habits, not only in amongst ourselves, but also in the children. There's so many books which teach values, like you just pick up any simple books like this. I have read all these books. A Very Hungry Caterpillar. It teaches patience and importance of being kind to others, to young children. Where the Wild Things Are explores themes of self-discovery and facing fears. Corduroy focuses on self-acceptance and power of friendship. Do we not need to teach our children these things? Yes. खाली बोलने से नहीं होगा ना. We take these books, read it out in the class for them, tell them to read the book. The Giving Tree, it illustrates the importance of love and sacrifice. Then there are so many for young adults like our teenagers, Ethical Dilemmas, The Hate You Give. This is a book. It talks about themes of racism, police brutality, social justice. Then there's To Kill a Mockingbird. Beautiful book. It explores the themes of prejudice, justice, and compassion. There's a book called Book Thief. Examines the power of words and importance of human connection. So storytelling is a very effective tool to teach values. कोई कहे कि कैसे सिखाए बच्चों को? Stories. This is our role. Today we are into this role today. Like Nair sir said, कम पढ़ाओ पर बातें ज़्यादा करो, बाकी चीज़ें ज़्यादा पढ़ाओ, तो heart educate होगा. Teach them duty and responsibility, compassion and kindness, self-discipline and perseverance. Teach them humility and acceptance. ये सब बातें आप स्टोरी से सिखा सकते हो. Very easy. I'll tell you an example of duty and responsibility. Tell them the story of this ship which drowned, Titanic. When Titanic was drowning, what had happened? This sinking, the Titanic was sinking, and I have just put it for you. In 1912, there were 3 ships nearby who heard the distress signals. The first one was 7 miles away, Samson it was called, and the second one was Californian, which was 14 miles away, and the third ship was Carpathia. It was a very tiny vessel which already had 700 people on board, and it was farthest away. It was going in the opposite direction, 58 miles away from the sinking Titanic. And when they did, all of 3 of them heard the distress call, and it was only Carpathia, whose captain Rostron, he immediately started his set off. He heard the thing, and because 58 miles was quite far away, see, the sense of responsibility was so high that while they were going towards that side, he made all the arrangements कि अभी वहाँ पे ship डूब रहा है तो वहाँ में ये चीज़ों की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. He saved all the food, blankets, and dining rooms were converted into beds, makeshift hospital, and lifeboats, heating. He stopped the hot water supply to save the heating steam for the people who will be, so that the ship's speed could be increased, because the ship wo heating cut karenge, so we can divert that here this side for speed. And it was a difficult journey of 1 hour, but they were able to save 705 people in 4 hours operation from 4 a.m. in the night to 8 a.m. And then of course the results was very they were he was decorated as the he was later knighted King George V and was honored by all the people at White House and other things. That was totally different thing. But the other two who were nearby, they had some their own agendas. They were not so responsible. They ignored the call. Who will risk our life? We don't know, and things like that. So I can say, in short, by fostering positive mindset, by taking help of different stories, yeah, by using the resources that we already have, resources like all of you, like CRDE is doing a good job by bringing in people, making them share their experiences. I know everybody knows a lot, but when we listen to others, it adds to our own experiences. Reading books like Teacher and Child. Then there are so many good books, like there is an inquiry mindset book by Trevor McKenzie. Then there is a book called Schools with Spirit by Linda Lanturi, by Kiranbir Sethi of Ahmedabad School, Riverside School. Every Child Can. This is a very good book. So if you go to the internet, you will find all the names, you find the free books. This book, Teacher and Child, is a very expensive book actually. It costs some more than 3,000 rupees, but we get it online nowadays. You can read Kindle version and all. So friends, I think I will stop here because we are already past 6, and I hope that I was able to make my point, what I wanted to tell you, and I hope I was successful in delivering what I wanted to say. Thank you, Deepa ma'am. Thank you, Suresh sir. Once again, thank you, Uma ma'am, for inviting me.
It's a really wonderful one.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, you have touched our hearts.
Thank you.
You really have touched our hearts,
Thank you.
Wonderful session. Wonderful session. And I'm sure everybody here agrees with me.
Thank you, Jayshree ma'am.
Absolutely.
You have raised our happiness quotient, and it was so nice, and I don't know, I just got so involved in what you were talking. You have touched our heart.
Thank you so much, Ambuja ma'am. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Vrinda ma'am.
Being an educator, I always, reflect on my experiences. But when I hear someone, we sometimes switch off. But this time, for 1 hour, I was glued to what you were talking. And it was so touching, I became so sensitized. It really touched me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Whatever I have put down here is all my own experiences. From that, if I have taken out something, or by listening to senior people who have their own experiences, and I found out that yes, these are the only things we need to do today. And with all the things that is happening today in the society, in our own schools and everywhere, every day I'm more convinced that yes, we need to educate them on these things. पढ़ाई तो कर लेंगे वो लोग, ये सिखाना बहुत जरूरी है.
Totally, ma'am, totally. When you were talking about how as a teacher, I'm the one who's responsible for the atmosphere of the class. I'm the one. I remembered when we were in college, and then some sir would come, and the way he would, conduct himself, he would say, "आज शायद बीवी के साथ झगड़ा करके आया है." So when you said that, I suddenly went back into my college days, and and school इतना नहीं सोचते थे, but in college days.
See, this 𝐒𝐚𝐽, you read this book. In this book, these words are so powerful. I have come to a frightening conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom. I am the one who decides. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. He writes that. It is my daily mood. It's very powerful.
Very powerful, yeah. Truly said. Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much.
Wonderful session, ma'am. Thank you. Of course, Uma ma'am will give an official thank you. But it was wonderful,
It's
wonderful.
not, there's no need. You are happy. That's my, letter
I
of
said,
thanks.
now you touched my heart,
I'm so happy.
Really touched my heart.
I'm so happy, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, anybody wishes to say something?
Yes, thank you, Lata ma'am. Thank you, Seema ma'am. You have written. Yes. Thank you so much for being there, Lata
Thanks,
ji.
dear.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much. A lot of wisdom again today.
अरे
Storehouse.
मैम कुछ नहीं, आप लोग से ही सीखते हैं. आई हैव लर्न सो मच फ्रॉम लता मैम.
God
शी
bless.
हैज
God
बीन,
bless.
शी हैज डन. So somebody is asking about the recording. Yes, it has been recorded. Yeah. Thank you, Jayashree
Uma
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Can we
Anybody
leave?
wishes to say something or ask something before
Thank you, Rita ji.
ask Uma ma'am to conclude? Anyone? Okay, over to you, Uma ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Deepa ma'am and Suresh Nair, sir. Let me share my news. Dr. Sangeeta ma'am, it was a wonderful session. And I was just going through whatever you were saying. I was putting myself in those shoes. Yeah. And especially what I like the most, being a teacher and a principal, what I like the least. That is, like, as a teacher, we can be so close to the children and find out their problem and their emotions, and we can help them. And that gives you the most satisfaction at the end of the day. That is the greatest reward in our profession, what we get. Yeah. Because our profession is not for money at all. That's why it's called as noble profession.
Yeah.
Because we do something more than we can do, and we try and do the best, whatever we can, for the children who are the future of this country. Yeah. And of course, what I like the least was that, when you have to face the different stakeholders, and you have to also convince them, and at the same time, you have to say across whatever you have to say. That is a little challenging thing for a leader as well as a teacher. And of course, yours was a wonderful session, ma'am. Thank you so much. Before we end this session, let me, at the first outset, let me sincerely thank Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava to be here.
Welcome.
It's a wonderful session of educating the heart, which, as I said in the beginning, is of prime importance. Because education repeatedly says educating the mind, but educating the heart is as important as much more. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I thank all the educators who are present here and who have also shared all your views. I sincerely thank Dr. Suresh Nair and Mrs. Deepa Desai ma'am for giving me this opportunity to host the webinar. Last but not the least, I thank the technical support for their wonderful support. And we have the next session on September 3rd by Sai Sudha Venkatraman. We would like all of you to attend and also share in your other contacts as soon as you receive the invite. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Uma ma'am also for hosting the program, today's program. Thank you, ma'am.
It's my pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Have a
you.
great evening.
Good evening.